you mentioned that you had to have a note before transitioning, and in Germany, that's still the policy.
Great.
Do you
Glad to hear
think
that, my
this is?
friend.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think this is a much needed policy? Because now we hear a lot of people who transition and then decide to transition back. So, do you think that it is important for mental health professionals to be involved in the transition process?
110%. Now, there's going to be people who are, oh, you're a gatekeeper. Oh, you're a. Look, I don't care what anybody says. Mental health is part of a transition. You are literally transitioning your body, which means you need to transition your mind. I do not understand why we are all of a sudden saying mental health care is gatekeeping. It is not gatekeeping. There are many children who are transitioning for the wrong reason today. And I am the guy who says it because my community is so full of a bunch of pussy ass people that it pisses me off. I will not let these children take this route if it's not their route. And when people start saying you do not need gender dysphoria to transition, I'm over it. I'm pissed off by it because now what we're doing is we're taking it to a space of not mental illness when it is a mental illness on some level. Now, there are different grades of who you are and what you're doing, but I'm talking specifically about kids like me. I don't know shit about the transgender community. I know everything about transsexuals and I know everything about wanting to be the gender you feel you're in. And without mental health care, you will not find that space. And as you see, I get so passionate and angry about it because we are killing kids. We are killing kids. We're not helping them when we misguide them through a space. Just because you might feel like a boy or a girl at 7 or 8 doesn't necessarily mean you are. And
Right.
if you're not going to mental health care or getting some of that, how are you even going to know that?
Right.
You just don't know.
And as you said, such a pivotal and important part in your life is having the reassurance, and not
Yes.
not just the reassurance, but having the support that you need while making that transition and how it saved your life. And I think when we don't include that, people are doing it all alone and they still feel that psychological, their body may change, but still psychologically and emotionally, they still feel disconnected and apart.
Yes, 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 100%. And this is why people, you can argue with me all you want. I am that man. You cannot argue with me. I have actually done the footwork, I've done the steps. There are very few people like me out there today. And that's why I'm here. I don't care. I could leave tomorrow, my friend, and I don't ever have to put my voice out on the internet. I only do it because those kids are me. And if they don't have somebody like me fighting for them, I believe they're going to go down in a way that they'll never be able to celebrate the life I have. I have such an incredible life today only because I took steps to make myself better. I am no longer mentally ill. I no longer have gender dysphoria. I am living a life of amazing because I became myself. And that is because instrumental with my mental health care professionals and my medical
Right.
professionals. So you cannot argue my story. That's the thing is my story is real. There are people who come after me in my community all the time who say what I'm saying is bad or I'm blood or I'm a medicalist. Yes, if you want to call me a medicalist, you go right ahead. And it's why I separate the two. It's okay for kids to have an identity of trans. Go ahead if that makes you feel great, but do not in any way, shape, or form connect that with me. I have an actual mental illness and I have gender dysphoria. And there are children out there who need to see me in order to say, yes, Trampa, I have a future like you.
So, unfortunately, the trans community is very underrepresented when it comes to receiving mental health. Why do you
Yes.
think that is? Do you think that why do you think they're so uncomfortable with receiving mental health treatment?
God, that's a great question, my friend. And they are blocking our voices like mad. So there is an agenda. I cannot tell you why, and it's happened within the last 5 years. And it's very upsetting to me. But I'm going to tell you right now, my voice gets heard because I take every podcast, I take every space I can go to put my voice out there because I will fight for mental health care. And it is wrong that we are actually treating young children without any mental health care. We're just saying, now we have this thing called self ID. A child can say, I'm trans, mom. Mom can't say shit about it. And mom has to just, I deal with these parents daily. They call me
Wow.
crying. I can't even intercept. In Canada, they cannot intercept. If the child says they're trans, the parent cannot argue that. And the child can, I'm like shocked that we're literally giving this authority to a child
Now,
who,
I am very old fashioned, okay,
me too.
in the way that I view these things, and I often think that if a young child is unable, you
Yes.
know, before they've hit puberty, they have enough trouble identifying who they are and growing as a person anyways. They haven't
Yes.
settled these things psychologically or mentally.
Mhm.
And so I think when it comes to an issue like transitioning or being
Yeah.
transgendered, I don't know how we can give them the tools to label themselves. I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an ice cream man, right?
Right on.
Okay. And then 2 weeks later, I wanted to work for NASA. Okay.
Right
And
on.
you cannot make these life decisions at such a young age. And so, and I do get a little criticism for that now because it's not the
You
popular
should.
thought.
Who cares? Listen to me. If you don't keep your voice, I will not respect you. You keep saying that, my friend, because you have every right to say that. And I'm backing you. And I'm a transsexual man who's backing you. I am so disgusted by a part. Now, listen to me. A part of our community. It is not our whole community. There are a lot of people who believe like I do. And I'm telling you, we're starting to override these people. Literally, they have come into this community misrepresented. They are misrepresenting me. That is not okay. And why I fight for this situation, because that is a misrepresentation of what we are. Some of us actually have gender dysphoria. And to say that gender dysphoria is not real and to say that you don't need it is entrapping children on some, because look, if you start swinging candy in front of kids, they want that stuff. Kids
Sure.
want to belong. Kids need to belong. I needed to belong. We all belong. I belong to punk rock groups, to goth, to all of it. That's why I'm telling you there's a difference between transgender and transsexual. Today, transgender is an identity. It's an actual identity. Kids are transitioning to be transgender. They are transitioning to be non-binary, where I never transitioned for that. I transitioned because I needed to be a man. So I hope you listeners understand and really understand the difference between mental health and identity politics. Transgender is identity politics today, and they're the ones who are trying to block you and I, my friend, from saying that. That's why we need to separate it on some level. And it's like, if they want to have identity, that's fine, but we need to focus on me and you and say, yeah,
Right.
there are children out there who will kill themselves if they do not become men and women.
So why do you think that mental health is something that is still so underrepresented, or trans are so underrepresented when it comes to mental health?
In the transgender community,
Right.
because I think it's in instilling the fact that it's a mental illness, and then that's what they're trying to say, that it is not mental ill, it's just a thing. And I'm like, God, I wish it was that
Yeah.
easy. I wouldn't have tried to kill myself like 3
Right.
times, dude.
Right.
And don't you ever misrepresent how dangerous what we have.